everyone, today we're making meringue cookies with pistachio buttercream. They are so delicious. I was inspired to make this recipe from a recipe that we did in culinary school back when I was 21 years old. And I have pictures of these cookies in my phone and I can't find the recipe anywhere. So I created my own recipe and they're just as good, if not better, than what I remember. And the best part is too, they're gluten-free, so they're great for your gluten-free friends. Looking at you, best friend. They're fantastic for any time of the year. They're easy to make. It's going to take some time and it's a bit of a challenge, but I'm going to break it down step by step and show you that you can do this too. It's not that hard. We'll do it together. While I'm cooking, I'm going to be sipping on my delicious pistachio and vanilla latte that I made with the Nespresso pistachio and vanilla pod, and it's going to pair with these meringue cookies perfectly. Let's get started. So we're gonna start by making an easy Swiss meringue. If you've seen my lemon scented vanilla cake video, you'll see how I make Swiss meringue and Swiss meringue buttercream. We're gonna be doing that again today. And you can go look right here if you wanna check it out. But today we're gonna be doing it a little bit differently. So let me show you what I start with. So we need for this recipe 8 ounces of egg whites, and luckily 8 eggs is exactly 8 ounces of egg whites. So we're going to crack these eggs into your stainless steel mixing bowl or something similar that's heat resistant. And as you crack it, you just want to separate out the yolks and only get the whites into your bowl. So I always have like a discard bowl set aside for me so that I can put my yolks in here and then my whites are going to go in here. So we'll just start cracking. The best way to do this, as annoying as it is with your hand. It's the best way to ensure that you're getting all of the egg white off the egg and being most gentle with the yolk. So now you have your 8 ounces of egg whites from 8 eggs in your stainless steel or heat resistant bowl. This is going to be going on a double boiler or a Bain-Marie, which is why you need the heat resistant bowl. We're going to add to that 16 ounces of white granulated sugar, and then a nice healthy pinch of salt. And maybe one little more. Perfect. So I'll just give this a quick little whisk to make sure it's incorporated. It will not incorporate very well because the egg whites will kind of like resist the sugar. But as this starts to heat up and kind of melts, it'll start to liquefy and it'll come together much easier over the Bain-Marie. All right, let's head over. I want to sip a coffee first. Now I have this on a Bain-Marie and I'm continuously whisking until it starts to get less viscous and a little bit more like runny. The second the texture starts changing, I'll stick my finger in. And once I stick my finger in and I go, ouch, that means that it's ready to come off. So when it's just slightly too hot to touch, that's when you know it's ready. And then once we take this off, it'll go right onto your KitchenAid mixer with the whisk attachment or your handheld mixer. So as you can see, it's starting to get more loose, more liquidy, and a little bit frothy as well. So we're getting close. This happens pretty quickly. It'll probably take you about 5 minutes. And if it takes you a little longer, it could be because your water wasn't all the way to a boil. I did have my water already set to boiling when I started. So just be patient and take your time, but this is looking good. We'll do my finger test. Yep, too hot to keep my finger in. So it is time to come off. So now that it's off, I'm just going to switch bowls because this is already cool and it helps cool it down a little bit faster, but no problem if you don't have an extra bowl. It'll just take a couple more minutes to cool off. So now I'll switch the KitchenAid onto high and let that go for between 5 and 10 minutes. We want it to be all the way cooled down. So we'll check it in 5 minutes and see where we're at. All right, so this has been on for 10 minutes. It's finally cool to the touch and it looks so good. I love the way meringue looks. I just want to like dunk my whole finger in. So now we have a Swiss meringue. So great quick lesson on how to make a Swiss meringue. It's really not that difficult. It's just a little time and some patience, but it looks gorgeous, super silky and shiny. So what we just made is Swiss meringue. This is the base for the cookie, but also the base for the buttercream. So Swiss meringue buttercream is just Swiss meringue with butter added to it. The cookie just needs the meringue. So what I do is I just made one full batch of Swiss meringue. I'm now going to separate this in half. So I will measure it out so that I have the exact same weight in both my bowls. Half of this will pipe as meringue cookies. The other half is gonna go back on the KitchenAid and we're gonna add butter to it. The entire batch of Swiss meringue is 600 grams. So you're gonna separate into two bowls, one that is still your mixing bowl that's gonna go back on your KitchenAid, or if you're using an electric hand mixer, you can do that too. So we're gonna separate so that it's 300 grams in each bowl. I like to use grams when I'm weighing just because it's more precise. And I tend to use it a lot when I'm baking just because since baking is such a science. Grams just ensure that everything comes out the same every single time since it's more precise. All right, so now both my bowls have 300 grams and 300 grams. The meringue I'm going to set aside because we're gonna pipe this into cookies. The buttercream base we put back on the KitchenAid. I'm using a paddle attachment. If you don't have a paddle attachment, that's okay. I just like to use the paddle attachment for when I add the butter because I feel like it beats the butter better. But if you're using an electric mixer and you just have the whisk, that works as well. So now to the meringue that is on the KitchenAid, I'm going to add 3 sticks of unsalted butter that I have cut up in little chunks, and they're also room temperature. So we will leave that on until this comes together, becomes nice and fluffy. It will go through a phase, and I do mention this when I showed my buttercream recipe the first time. It will look a little scary for a few minutes. Don't look at it. Don't worry. Walk away. It'll come together. So it will go through this crazy looking, like it looks like it's split. You didn't ruin it. You didn't split it. It's impossible to do. Just keep it mixing until it all comes together. I will put that on low and start adding my butter in kind of piece by piece. I'm gonna scrape down the sides just to make sure all the meringue is mixing with the butter, and then I'll go and put this on high speed until it all comes together. All right, we'll let that go until it's nice and fluffy. To make the meringue cookies, we are going to pipe them into little pretty shapes onto parchment paper, and then they get baked low and slow. So I set my oven to 200 degrees, and then they'll be in there from an hour and a half to 2 hours just until they're dry. I will pipe these now into pretty shapes. I have my piping bag. I just fold it about 1/3 down. Keep it clean. So I have the open star tip on and it's rather large, so it makes piping really easy. And then it's gonna make this nice big circular, beautiful kind of floral pattern. I'll show you what I mean. And it'll be such a pretty base for our cookies. And then before I start piping, I just push the meringue down and I push out any air bubbles right into the bowl. And then we just start piping cookies. Oven and we've got some time, so we're going to finish our buttercream. So as I mentioned before, we let the buttercream come together just until the butter and the meringue, the Swiss meringue, got nice and fluffy. It's looking silky and smooth and gorgeous, and the butter is all incorporated. So we're at a perfect stage. Now you can leave this as is if you just want plain buttercream. You can add vanilla here. I'm going to add pistachio butter. So for half the batch of the Swiss meringue buttercream, I'm adding 3 ounces of pistachio butter. Also, like I got this super silky one. I'm so excited. And it's got a really fun color too. That's going to look beautiful in the little sandwich cookies I'm making. But we're going to add this right to your buttercream. And I'll do a little bit at a time just so it kind of comes together. And then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all mixed in. All right, so I'll add about half of this, let it mix in, and then we'll add the other half. The color is so gorgeous. All right, now I'm just gonna scrape down the sides, make sure there's no white buttercream left in here and no pistachio butter hanging out. Sorry, this bowl is a mess today. Okay. Scraped it down and now I'll just let it go until it comes together. All right, it's done. It is the prettiest color green. I literally want to paint my walls this color. And my kitchen cabinets would look nice in this color. Look at that. Gorgeous. All right, so now my pistachio buttercream has been finished. My meringue cookies are still in the oven. My girls are on their way home. So I'm not going to be able to drink this coffee after I make my cookies because I'm going to fill them once they go to bed. But I'm going to do the pairing with the buttercream because it's pistachio buttercream. It's pistachio Nespresso. I mean, it's going to be perfect together. When I'm pairing wine, a lot of times in the food, I want to bring out flavors or complement flavors. With coffee, I'm always afraid it's going to like overpower the dessert. So that's why I like to match the flavors. And what better match than pistachio and pistachio? So I think it's just going to marry really nicely. And it's freezing outside, but I love iced coffee and a good iced latte in the middle of the day with a spoonful of pistachio buttercream. I mean, hello, delicious. So let's try it. Let's see how this goes. It's so silky, heavy pistachio flavor, and it's like got this like marshmallowy texture. This is going to be so good in the meringue cookies. I can't wait to taste them with you after. But oh, perfect. Brings out the pistachio even more in the coffee. So clearly it's nighttime now. My little one is in bed. The other one is watching some TV. So you might hear some noises, but it's time to fill our beautiful meringue cookies. So I baked these. They went in for about an hour and 20 minutes. It could be up to 2 hours depending on the temperature. Also, my oven was slightly warm when I first put them in. So I think that's why they baked a little bit faster. But I'd say about an hour and a half is perfect. You can tell they're done. They get really airy. They come right off the parchment and they just have this really nice little like hollow texture. They're gorgeous and they are so shiny and pretty. Now we're going to fill them as little meringue cookie sandwiches. They're quite impressive the way they look. So I just go ahead and I do the same kind of shape as the cookie itself with the buttercream in a pastry bag. And I do a pretty thick amount of buttercream. I like a lot of buttercream in these. And then I take another cookie and top it. And doesn't that just look like a little patisserie? It's so pretty. I put these on a cake stand because how cute. And I love when you bake the meringue, it gets this like a little bit like of a cream color to it. It goes from white to off white. And to me, they just look like so old school and sweet and pretty. And I love them on a little pink cake stand. Now let's do the rest. I have filled all my cookies. They look so beautiful. They look like French patisserie, very elegant and fancy. Now, I do have some leftover buttercream. I want to note that it is very easy to freeze buttercream. So you just take the rest of your buttercream, put it in a freezer safe container, wrap it nice and tight around your container with some cellophane, and you could stick that in your freezer up to 5 months. When you take it out, you can melt it back over a Bain-Marie and then you just whip it up back on your KitchenAid or with your electric hand mixer and it comes back to life. So that's the beauty of buttercream. It's pretty shelf stable. And the fact that you can whip it back up after frozen is amazing. So that's what I'm going to do with my extra because that is not going to waste. And now I get to taste my beautiful cookies. I would have loved to have my pistachio latte right now, but it is almost 9 o'clock at night. So I'm not doing that to myself because I will never sleep. But I will imagine how perfect that pairing is. And I'm going to go in and bite this gorgeous, huge cookie. Are you ready? I'm ready. Mm. Listen, they're messy, but they're so good. Light and elegant meringue. The pistachio flavor comes through in a big way. It's just gorgeous. So delicious. Gorgeous, so delicious. It's like melt in your mouth. They're just little puffs of air. They're so good. I can't wait for you to try them. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time.